Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and our show is called Let's Live. And we have a very special guest this evening. We have Avigile Landsman. And I had Avigile Landsman on the show a while back when she had first come up with her deck, and with her deck of cards and with her book called Letters from Heaven. And I promised Avigile that I would have her back because I was so interested in what she was doing. Unfortunately, I had my own project, and I went into a cave until I finished my book. I don't hang out in churches anymore, and I just finished it a couple of weeks ago, and as soon as I finished it, as soon as it went off to the publisher, and as soon as the publisher gave me copies, then I got on the phone and I said, okay, Avigile, we're ready to do this. So I'm so excited, Avigile. You know, this makes me realize that when you create something, it isn't the end of the journey, because now you have been going down this path. Your deck is at least twice what it was, so it's much easier. It just seemed to me that it was smaller.
It was a poker size, and now it's tarot size.
Yeah, so the cards are much larger, and it's really not, and then now you've got the book.
Book is finally published.
The book is done, and anybody who can publish a book, I'll tell you, Avigile, nobody knows until you've written a book and published it what that is.
I have to say all credit is due to my daughter, Ruby Rose, who is a wonderful book producer. She did all the photography, all the digitizing, she did the layout. There's a lot to doing a book.
Well, and your book has a lot of artwork in it.
There's full color pictures for each letter. So the letters that are illustrated here, the illustrations in the deck are also in the book. So after the information, you get the picture, you get the illustration to the letter.
Now, Avigile, let's start from the beginning here. Where was this project born?
From the camel.
Okay, tell me about the camel.
Okay.
Tell me about the birth of this project.
Well, back in the early 90s, well actually in 89, I first went to the Woodstock Jewish congregation and found it was a really cool shul. And I started on the bat mitzvah journey because I didn't have a bat mitzvah when I was a little girl. I waited until I was 40. And the process started when I was about 32. And the section of the Torah that I read, because you chant from the Torah Saturday morning, was about the meeting of Isaac and Rebekah. And Abraham's servant, that's the father of Isaac, tells the servant to go out and find a girl for his son to marry. And the servant says, I'll know she's the one when I ask for a drink of water, and not only does she offer me water, but she offers all my camels. She gives water to all my camels. And that's very coded, cryptic language. It's very deep. And my teacher, Michaelis Formis, said, you gotta look into those camels, which is gamal. And I found that gamal, which has a hump in which to store the water for that long journey across the desert, is the derivation for the letter Gimel. And then I learned that all the letters have derivations from objects. And the objects, the sound of the object then becomes the letter. So the basic sound of the word. So from gamal, which means camel, you have gimel. So I'll show you what the letter looks like.
Okay, so Gamal came before the camel?
Gamal means camel.
Right.
And then, so here's the illustration. The best way is
Okay.
to look at the illustration. So you see, this is Rebecca riding on her camel, and this is the jar, the vessel that she used to water the camel. So but what is that vessel? It's cod, and the numerology of it, the gematria of cod is 24. There are 24 sacred books in the Tanakh, which are all the sacred texts in Jewish religion. Of course, there's a lot of other books, but these are the basic texts. So she had the water. Water is likened to Torah. So she was pouring Torah into these 10 camels, because there were 10. There's 10 sfirot in the tree of life. The sfirot are the emanations of the divine. So there's a lot in that text. And it took a long time to understand that. Then I started to examine all the other letters and research the other letters. Oh, let me just see the actual letter. You should see the letter itself so you understand. Here's the letter. So here's the letter Gimel. And if you look, it's like the neck and the leg of the camel. So it's
Okay.
like an abstraction. Some of the letters are not that clear because over the period of eons, the representation, they rotate and they turned into different languages. So from an object, representation of an object, it gathers up meaning. It becomes an ideogram, and then it becomes just the representative of the sound. So Gimel, is Gamal, and then it has the G, that guttural G sound. And the camel is an animal that can go the distance because it stores its water for a long journey. So there's a lot of meaning in that. And then there's words related. So the words Gamal, Gemul, weaning, being ripe. So it all has to do with inner resources. And then there's a beautiful word, Gimilut Hasidim, which is acts of loving kindness, which is a spiritual term, meaning going the distance for other people from your inner resources. So on a physical level, a camel is an animal who stores water to walk. But there's another spiritual walking, which is Gimilut Hasidim, acts of loving kindness.
Gimilut Hasidim. Is that
Gimilut?
one
Yeah.
word?
It's two. Gimilut.
Gimilut
Right.
Hasidim.
Right. From chesed, which means love.
Okay.
So acts of loving kindness. So going the distance for somebody.
So this was where your journey began.
Yes, with that camel.
Wow. And you said it took you 8 years?
No, it took more like 15 because this book, okay, if you look here, you've got the word, how to pronounce it, the general meaning, the derivation. So you have Gimel, generosity. You have, again here, then you have derivation, camel, numerical value, 3, because the letters are also numbers. There weren't separate digits, so that's how we have gematria, numerology, because every word is a mathematical equation, because every letter also is a number. So if you have a word with a gimel, then that would count as 3. So the sound.
Now, if you have a word with the gimel, does that mean the word starts with gimel?
No, it could just be anywhere in the letter.
Would have a value of 3.
Yes. So then you have the sound, how you would pronounce it if you found it in a word. Then the words that I find are connected to the meaning. Of course, there's a lot of words that start with any letter, but I focus on, so Gamal, camel, Gemilut Chasidim, acts of loving kindness, and then Gal, open. And then I have either a psalm or a poem. So from the morning blessings, it says, "Blessed are you, the generous, our God, life of all the worlds, who acts for all my needs." And that's one of the things that some Jews say in the morning. It's from the prayer book.
But now that's not from the Psalms.
I'm not sure.
Okay. But now, do you have a psalm attached to each one of these?
There's either psalm, a line from prayer, or my own poem.
In other words, there's something attached to each one of these.
Yes. Then some of the letters, not all, have a dedication. I'm showing her, I'm showing you. So there's a dedication to a person who embodies the spirit of that letter. Then the derivation, so you can see that this is a camel. That's a camel. The numerical value, and I talk about the significance of the number. And then I talk about the words, and we just discussed Gemilut Chasidim. That's such an important
I'm going to
concept.
jump forward here.
Okay.
I'm going to jump forward here. You have got a book that deals with these cards, but you have got so much more. You've got a numerology book there.
Well, I talk about the numbers, yes.
Yes. So a
Yes.
person could use this book to give numerical value. In other words, if you're trying to find the meaning of 3 or the meaning of 7 it's in
Yes.
there. It's
and
in there.
also, if you have a Hebrew name, you can spell out your name with the cards, and then you can look it up in the book, and you can count up the numerical value of your name.
So you've got a little encyclopedia going there, a little spiritual encyclopedia. You've got a reference to Psalms or prayers. So you have a spiritual reference to every listing.
Yes.
You have a numerical reference to every listing.
Yes.
You have the derivation. You have a dedication.
And I also have spiritual application and a practical application.
So what is the spiritual application of Gamal and what is the practical application of Gamal?
It is easy to give generously from your well springs of abundance. May we all focus more on the Gimel, being like little camels who are filled with loving kindness and performing many acts of Gemilut Chasidim. So that's the spiritual practice. And the practical application are people, who go the extra mile. People who are working food pantries and feed the poor. People who work for hospice. Pro bono work that lawyers do. Imagine if this government embraced that concept, there'd be health care for all and housing for all, because all these wealthy people would want to give and make sure that there was justice. And there's a letter here in this Aleph Beit that stands for justice.
What is that letter?
All right. Sadi.
Sadi?
Sadi, and it's for the first word tzadik. And in the Torah it says tzedek, tzedek, tirdof.
So let me
This
see
is
Sadi.
the letter, yes. So it's like the letter Nun, it's like a person with either the letter Yud, which is the divinity, or a sack. He's like holding a sack of all of the mitzvahs, all of the good deeds that they do. And a tzaddik is one who does right, who seeks justice and righteousness. And the Torah repeats the word twice. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice you shall pursue. It doesn't say you'll get, it says you'll pursue. Because we never have total justice, but we also have to keep working for it. And we're working for it, aren't we? Always.
Oh, that, yes.
I also include a personal story, how I personally experienced the letter's intelligence.
So each card not only has the encyclopedia, but they have your little memoir there. You have a memoir in this book.
There's a general quality about my life that I think other people could relate to. It's not like, what I had for lunch today, but it's this thing happened to me. Okay, for chet. Chet derives from a gate. Let's look at chet. And I went to the Gate Project. Do you remember the Gate Project in New York City? All those beautiful gates with the orange fabric. Remember, a long time ago?
Actually, I don't.
Okay, well, I went to it. There are these big beams shaped like gates. So this first was a ladder, then it was a gate. So in New York City, through Central Park, the whole park had these huge gates. Huge, tall, with like saffron robes, like a monk.
Wow.
And you walk through it, and nobody was running. There were people from all over the world who were coming. And in my mind, there was like a mezuzah on every single gate, because if there's a post and lintel construction in your home, like a door when you enter, you always have a mezuzah, because that means doorpost. And so each gate was like a doorpost, because I was going through. When you're going through the door, you're not in the house, and you're not out of the house. You're in a liminal place, and a liminal place is a little scary. And when you're in a scary place, you reach to God. Your faith, you have to have faith. And so the mezuzah is like, okay, I remember a God, and I love God. God's going to protect me. Please, God, protect me. I love you. You go through.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot packed in that book.
So, I talk about the words, and then I expand a little bit more. I talk about my personal experience. There's spiritual application, practical application, and I have a website, because I had to stop writing. And I had to say, okay, cut, we're going to make this book. That's a wrap. But I still had more insights. So on the website, I have more insights. Sometimes they're 400, 500 words, just a little to excite you about it, give you a little taste. Some of the letters, there's a lot of trees. If you look at the pictures, like here for Zion, there's for Vav rather, there's a tree. And then Zion is a leaf, the spirit of the tree.
Oh, and here's another tree.
Yeah, because it's like the chuppah, which is what a bride and groom stand under. So there's lots of trees. So I have an essay about trees. So I talk about the imagery.
Now, did you do this as a blog, or is this just part of your website?
It's on WordPress, but if you go to the website, you'll see it.
But
you'll
I mean,
see
when
it
you,
says essays.
I guess what I'm saying
I hate
is,
saying blog because it's it's such a wide
but
category.
Let me rephrase it.
Okay.
Is this something that I could tune into your website like once a week or once every couple of weeks and maybe find a new okay. And is it listed by, how are they listed? By date? By
date, yes. And I am including the letter that I focus on. So if you're reading Gimel and you're excited about Gimel and you've read the chapter and you want to get some insight, further insight, you could go to the essay section and say, okay, well, where's something on Gimel? And then read that.
So for a person who purchases this deck and who purchases the book, you begin a journey.
Yes.
Or you continue a journey. This is a journey that you're on. So do you ever have people who just buy the book?
Yes.
And do you ever have people who just buy the deck?
Yes.
And do you have a feeling about what motivates a person to buy the book, and how does that person differ from the person who just buys the deck, and how does they differ from the person who buys both?
Okay, that's a lot. I'll do the best I can, and you'll remind me if I miss anything. There are people who love to read tarot, and this is a deck, and you can use it for readings. And in the book, I give some sample readings and how to use it, and also the essays, how to use it, like your age, because of the numbers, or anything with numbers. You could spell out your name. You could just ask a question and have the image speak to you. Some people just want to go on those pictures. Some people love just how beautiful the pictures are, and they like to just pick a picture for the day, and if they had the book, then they could get a fuller understanding and appreciation of what went into that image, because I do also talk about the image and how it relates to everything I have included in the chapter. So there are people who want to just look at the pictures. There are people who just want to study and they don't understand why do you have cards, because they're interested in studying. They want to learn Hebrew, and having a relationship with the letters helps them understand the difference between letters. Perhaps they're confusing one letter with another, like Bet, Resh, and Chaf are often confused, but once they have an appreciation of the letter and an understanding, then they're able to differentiate, and then the reading is much easier. I've had a number of bat mitzvah students say, wow, I read your book, now I can read better, thank you. So there are a lot of people who come to this project from all walks of life. Some people are Jewish, some people are not Jewish, some people are just interested in language, some people are interested in reading, some people like the artwork, people who are creative, people who are spiritual, people who want to be inspired. A number of people have told me it's inspiring, it can be funny. So it's a lot of things to a lot of people.
So actually what you have is you have manufactured a packet of reference materials. That's what you've got here.
Thank you.
Because you can refer to the book, you can refer to the cards, you can refer to the artwork that's either in the book and or in the cards. You can use it in many different ways. So this is something that if you buy the book, you can keep it by your bedside or on your desk, and you can refer to it. That's quite a project. Now, how many years did you actually write on this?
Maybe 13, 14 years.
Yeah. And you've got a memoir in there. When you start writing something and you make references to your own personal life in different chapters, that's a memoir.
Because it went very deeply into me. That's the kind of studying I did, where I felt it in my bones.
Because, a memoir isn't necessarily, I don't know, because I haven't read this book, but I don't know if you're talking about, mundane things, but you are making reference to your inner self. And that's what memoirs do.
I talk about things that everybody's experienced: love, loss, creativity,
and how you dealt with those things.
Yes.
Okay, that's a memoir. If you started dealing with love from how you experienced it, that is a memoir.
Okay.
Because people don't want to know in a biography so much about what the love was. They want to know how you perceived it, how you reacted to it, how you responded to it. That's a memoir. And that's kind of what I think you have done. You explore a subject.
Yes.
Personally, from your own personal experience.
So there's facts, there's information, and there's my response to it on how I integrated into my life, how I related.
So how many pages is this book?
About 280.
280. Can you please tell me what is the value of 333?
333, well, we have Shin, which is about balance and peace and wholeness. 30 is Lamed, which is the first letter in the word Lech Lecha, which means go out, go to yourself. Can be translated either way. God said to Abraham, Lech Lecha, leave your home and go to a land I will show you. So that's 30, and then 3 is Gimel.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So it's about...
Because I really know nothing about numerology.
So there's all threes.
Yeah, it's all threes.
Lots of balance in there. And the Lamed is derives from an ox goad. So it's like, you gotta kind of whip yourself into shape, and the decade of the 30s is, finding your place in society. You've learned and gone to school, and then you've got to have a career and establish yourself. So it's, you got to get going.
Yeah. So what do people normally, what would be people commonly use these cards for?
Daily inspiration and direction. People want to have a sense of meaning and purpose in their life, and that is the underlying theme throughout the whole book. And also creativity. I'm constantly making and doing, and I mean, these cards are this was done in felt. This is a 3D sculpture. This is marker and watercolor paint and pencil.
Now I'm gonna.
So I'm always making. So this is an expression of my creativity.
Now, has the artwork on these cards changed since you had the small deck?
No, it's the printing of it.
Okay,
They're
but you didn't go back.
No.
A year later and say, oh, I don't like this one, I'll throw this one out. So these illustrations were the illustrations, whether it was this deck or the big deck. It's the illustrations.
Yes.
And I understand that those illustrations might be for sale.
Yes, I have on earrings, and I have this piece here. This is a one-of-a-kind beaded piece. And here's the samech earring. Here's the card, samech, and then I have earrings. I also have greeting cards, and I have them on either metal or canvas, and they can be ordered in any size.
Well, you have some other things too. You have some canvases. So are you actually selling the original canvases?
They're the artwork printed on canvas. It looks like an original piece of artwork.
But it is not.
The original art I'm not selling.
Okay, that was what I was trying to find out. So you really are not selling the original art.
No.
But if a person becomes attached to a particular number or a particular card, they can get some version of it.
Yes.
So that this is Gimel. If a person becomes attached to Gimel and the story of Gimel, this is available.
Yes.
In some way.
Yes, just go to the website and you can be connected.
Okay,
yes.
Now when you say greeting cards, are all of these illustrations greeting cards, or have you just selected some?
The Hamsa that's featured in here is a greeting card. I can make greeting cards out of any letter
Okay,
if somebody
so,
is interested.
so if somebody wants 24 of this one,
Here's the Hamsa. This was a beaded piece that I did, and it was photographed by Andy Wainwright and made into a greeting card, and that is currently for sale.
now let me ask you something. Did you do this artwork in preparation for the bat mitzvah?
No, I became a bat mitzvah in 1998, and this deck came out, I don't know, in 2016. The artwork and the writing took a long time. The bat mitzvah preparation was what initiated the project.
Okay, so the bat mitzvah preparation was the seed.
Yes.
It was the seed. And then after the bat mitzvah, you took the seed and you developed it and you grew it, and this is what has happened.
Yes.
So this is a product of your bat mitzvah.
Yes. It was my camel.
So does a bat mitzvah usually have this impact on a person?
It's a life-changing experience. Not everybody writes a book. However, Rabbi Jonathan Kligler is such an inspiration to so many of us. There are a number of rabbis who started with an adult bat mitzvah. So I didn't become a rabbi. I wrote a book and did an illustrated deck of the Hebrew letters. So we all express our creativity and our spirituality in our own individual way.
Okay. So do you see what you're doing now, your inspiration? You're not calling it a blog, but I'm calling it a blog. I'll go to your website and then I may change the term, but I'm betting you it's a blog. Do you see that as this is the maturing of this project? This is what you're going to do with your project? Or do you see another incarnation of your project? In other words, is your project moving forward in a new direction?
I have some ideas of what I might do. They're just kind of in my head though, and I wouldn't want to say, but stay tuned.
That's really interesting because, something such as this is so creative. I cannot see this. I don't see this as the end. I see this as maybe the middle.
I also do readings for people because these are cards for spiritual guidance. The full title of the book is Letters from Heaven, Spiritual Guidance from the Hebrew Letters for Every Day of Your Life. Because it's, practical information, practical inspiration, as well as spiritual. So there's information and there's inspiration.
I still don't see that.
All
as
in
the
this
end.
little package.
I still don't see this as there is another chapter. There's another plateau or another step or another something. I just see this as the middle.
From your mouth to God's ears.
I don't know about that either, but I just don't see this. Some people you talk to and they've created whatever they've created, and this is it. They've done it. It's over. And this, I don't believe this.
Well, I keep writing. I keep getting different ideas. And the images themselves say different things to me. And I reflect on them. I wrote an essay called Cole Porter, Mr. Rogers, and Me. And that was inspired by these letters.
Yeah.
From the letter Shin, because Shekhinah is the indwelling presence of God, comes from Shechen, which is neighbor, and that made me think of Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor? And what a beautiful feeling I had from watching Mr. Rogers saying, I love you just the way you are. And I thought, oh,
Yes.
somebody likes me just the way I am.
Yes. He was a wonderful person, wasn't he?
And that's a wonderful feeling. And won't you be my neighbor, right? And, that's what God is saying. Won't you be my neighbor?
Yeah.
Won't you welcome love into your heart to do good deeds and to love each other? That's what a neighbor does. When we think of a neighbor, it's somebody who's going to protect us and be kind to us. Borrow a cup of sugar or maple syrup or honey if you don't eat sugar. But those are those ideas. So I wrote it all up. I don't remember what the Cole Porter part was, but read the essay. You'll find out it's an interesting one.
If you were to use a card to describe the current events, which card would it be?
All these cards are very positive and uplifting. So current events, I guess we would have to look at all of the protest and the guardianship of the earth. So we could say Chet. We have kind of these very interesting handprints. It's like God's kind of present. We don't see, but there's a presence there. And the tree is beautiful and blossoming. Then we have God's support, maternal love, the indwelling presence, this loving motherly presence and support. We have to know that God is always there.
So those were the two cards. If you were to pick a card to embody today, what would that card be? How do you choose a card for the day?
Oh, I would just randomly select a card. I mean, you could say that the world is any of these because they're the Hebrew letters and everything's created. Everything in creation comes from the letters.
Now here is a card that has, what does that mean?
Ha'ot. Ha'ot literally means the letter. In the time of total peace, it's called Mashiach time, when everyone knows their purpose and everyone treats each other kindly and
Wow.
the world is in balance, that which will be revealed. So when you pick this card, it's that which will be revealed. So it's an unknown factor.
The unknown factor.
Yes.
Okay.
And it can also be used, and there's also a blank card in there too. If you have a word that you want to spell out and you need another letter, these can be placeholders.
Oh, okay. So you actually have this one, but then you have another one that is blank.
There's a blank one somewhere in here.
Okay. So a person comes to you for a reading. What do you do? How does that go?
I would ask the question.
Okay.
What is it that you're looking for, and what would you like to talk about or address? And I'd have them shuffle the cards, and they would, based on what their needs are, I would develop a reading, and
Okay.
then I would read the cards.
Okay.
I would also ask them what the images meant to them, because we all relate to things differently. We notice different things about the cards.
Oh, that's very true. Everybody sees different things in the cards.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's very true. Okay. Well, and you said that you do a reading from a person's name?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Thurman. So how do we get this out? We do T.
Well, that's a T sound, a TZ sound. So I would get the letter Tet, which is 9.
Haut.
Ha'ot, we could do that.
There's Tet,
Okay, so there's Tet. So we've got
and there's
Tet,
N.
Thurman, and then you need, right, and then
There's R, Thur,
right, Thurman,
M,
and then
A, I-N, is that the A?
iron. That's a kind of a silent letter.
And there's an N,
And
what have we left
Thurman.
out? T-H,
Well, a hey for the
Okay.
th, because we don't have a th sound.
okay.
So let's turn these around so people
Oh, okay,
can.
here's an A, Aleph, is that an
Aleph
A?
is a silent letter.
Okay. That's interesting. Now,
Yeah,
this
the
is
vowel-
interesting.
The vowels go under the letters. These are all consonants.
So that is very
So you
interesting.
wouldn't
I've
need
chosen
that.
what I thought was two A's,
Yeah.
and both of them have been silent. Okay, so have we
Okay.
got Thurman there together?
So let's put it.
T-H-U-R.
So
M-A-N.
TH third. And then
Do we have it?
yes.
Okay.
We got it.
All right. Now
I-
what have we got?
I would need
Tav.
a pen and paper to figure out the arithmetic.
Really?
Yeah, well, 9 and 5
Is 14.
214, 254, 304. Is that it?
254 and 50 would be, 304.
304, which then reduces to 7, which is a wonderful number, 7 days of the week, 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 notes before the octave. So this is a number of completion. 7 planets that we could see in the sky.
Wow.
7's a very special number.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what else have we got here?
So Nun is the letter of emergence. In Aramaic, Nun means fish, and a fish rises up. And you've got Mem, which is Miriam, and there she is dousing water, which we were talking about before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because in the Midbar, which also starts with Mem, we have Miriam, Moses' sister. She was a party girl. Think about it. They leave Egypt, a place of slavery, and the women think to bring timbrels, which are musical instruments, and tambourines, because she had the insight. She was a prophetess. She knew they were going to get to the other side, and when they did, they were going to party down and make music. There you go. So she's my girl. I like Miriam. And Reish. Reish is this very dreamy card. Reish is cosmic consciousness. It's Rosh, which is the head.
Okay.
And that's where our ideas are housed. Like I was telling you about the twos. So this is 200. So Bet is Bayit, which is a house, an actual house where bodies are. Then Chaf is the hip. So that's a place of, that's a whole nother biblical story. But then Reish pivots on this one little point, and that's the place of ideas. And it's also the first letter in the word Rimon for pomegranate, which is a fruit with lots of seeds, very fertile. And they say in the Talmud, may your deeds be as numerous as the seeds of a pomegranate.
Ooh, I love that one.
Yes. It's also in the Song of Songs, your cheeks are like pomegranates.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Then Hey. Hey is a letter in the Holy Name. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. And the Holy Name is written in this card vertically. Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. And the numerical value is 5. 5, so we have 4, right, is the cardinal directions, 4 sides is the world, but then we experience the world. and through our five senses. And some people think the 5 boroughs of New York City is the whole world, right? You have this sense of totality. You have 5 fingers on your hands to reach out and touch. So that's 5. It's aliveness. And then Tet is Tov, goodness. And a baby is, if you look at the letter, the negative space looks like a little baby, a little fetus in there. And the numerical value is 9. And it takes 9 months of gestation to bring a baby into the world. And being a mom, I'm a professional mom, a lot of these cards are very much influenced by my experience of being a mother. That's something I take very seriously, and that's what I'm very proud to be. And my creativity, I'm birthing not children, but I'm birthing projects. So, and that's good, and the goodness of the parents create the baby. So that's what this card is. So you've got goodness and aliveness, cosmic consciousness, going deep into the earth, for going beyond what mundane realities, for the riches that lie just below the surface, and then emerging.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's what it's like to go and get a reading at your place.
I would go a little deeper, but yes, that's a real quick off the top
That's
of my
beautiful.
head without thinking about
That's
it.
totally
And then
beautiful.
you get to look at the pictures, and then you kind of have a composite in your mind, like you kind of can combine
Yeah.
it all together. What, you've got yellow coming through, you see all the yellow,
Yes.
and what does yellow mean to you? And then also, this is interesting, you have 40-50, so
Yeah.
what does that mean to you? And then you've got 50, you've got 5. So that's going up a level. So you have a lot of stuff going on. Each card is a journey. Like this is the beginning, this is birth, this is aliveness and being very present and rooted. This is being outside of your body. This is going deep into the earth and finding the riches and studying. And then this is coming up.
Wow. So if one wants to book a reading, how do they contact you?
They could go to the website, which is lettersfromheaventhebook.com.
Letters from Heaven, the book.
One word. Letters from Heaven, the book.
Capitalized or lowercase?
It doesn't matter. Right here. And they can find me on Facebook, Instagram. They can just put Avigile Landsman. They'll find me in Google. But if you go to lettersfromheaventhebook.com, you can look at the whole deck and get a little overview. And you can then hit the contact and shoot me an email, and I'll be in touch.
Oh, okay. So another question I have is, can you order your book on your website?
Yes.
What do you go through PayPal?
I believe so.
Okay. I know I sell my books through PayPal, and
They're on Amazon too. Just the book, but it's it's easier to just go to the website. You can get the book, you could get cards, you can get the deck.
Right. It's so much easier.
The whole
it's
thing.
so much easier than Amazon. It really is.
Yeah.
People don't realize that Amazon is so large, I think.
Yeah.
And when you get to your website, it's smaller, it's more intimate. It's just, for me, it's easier.
This is a mommy and me project. My daughter Ruby Rose and myself. It's
just put it together.
Beautiful. She built the website too. She builds websites. She takes photographs. She does web design. She does everything.
Now you have a WordPress.
Yes.
website.
Yes.
My website is WordPress,
Well,
and all of my
no.
blogs are WordPress.
I don't know. The blog is on WordPress. I don't know what the website is. You'd have to ask her. I don't know the technical stuff. I just plug it in.
Oh, we're down to 5 minutes. Okay,
Okay.
so we are down to a very few minutes. What have we left out?
I don't know. What
You
el-
don't know.
What else?
Well, I am very, very
Okay.
impressed with this.
Thank you.
And I just think these are so beautiful. And I am so happy that you enlarged these.
Yes.
Because the first deck I got, it was teeny, and I really liked it because I could tuck it in my purse and it didn't take so much room. But very soon after I got it, I gave it away to one of the editors of the Albany paper, because we were in a writing class together, and he was talking about David. And I said, well, if you know David, then...
David Kraftchild?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
he was one of my teachers.
Yeah, well, I told him, I said, if you know David, then I'm going to give you this deck. And so I gave you the deck, and then, of course, I went off into my own cave. And I am just now coming out. This is really nice. The pictures are large enough you can really see them. There is a very positive beauty resonating through each of these cards.
Thank you very much.
And it did not resonate. It did not really resonate earlier. In the smaller deck, it was just too
The
small.
previous producer, the actual printer,
Yeah.
their machines just weren't as sophisticated. They were using old equipment, and it didn't communicate with
Right.
the computer. And this particular printer, which is also, print on demand, I think it's called Superior, I don't know. They have better equipment, and Ruby also tweaked it and improved it, and the colors translate better.
The colors are lovely. The quality of the paper is nice. You know, in a book and in cards, the tactile thing is so important.
Yes.
I have people buying my books on Kindle or whatever all the time because they're only like $4.99 and it's cheaper and faster. It's instant whatever. I don't know. You can't get away from the paper. It's my age. I have to touch.
Well,
and
the
these
thing
are
is,
lovely.
if you're reading the book and you want to focus for the day on the letter, you really need the deck to have it stand up. I mean, this is an art deck. So just to look, you could frame these.
Yes.
You could put it in a frame. You could put it on your refrigerator or a little mini easel. So you can't do that with a book. You really need to buy the deck.
Well, this is very, very spiritual work. It's lovely. This deck is lovely. The book is lovely. We only have just a couple of seconds. I want to invite everyone. This book looks like something that if you're going to go away on vacation, or if you're going to do something and you can only have so much space in your suitcase, this is a book to take with you. This is something that's going to be with you more than a week. It's a lovely, lovely creation. And it's Letters from Heaven, Avigile Landsman, and you can find her on her website. You can also find her in Woodstock. This is a Woodstock book, and we are very, very happy to present her. And Avigile, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much
This
for
has
having
been
me. This has
lovely.
been really great.
It has been. It's been a wonderful visit, and I appreciate it very much. And maybe we should try this again in a few months.
Okay.
Because, in a few months we can do a different kind of a reading.
Well, I think the ages are really interesting because. Okay.
Good night.
Well, good night.
Hey, that's great.